I'm Sam Kiley in Kharkiv, and this is CNN.
A thrillingly poised US Open leaderboard on the final day. Why the Stanley Cup finals looking ominously one-sided, and a blast from the past at the Canadian F1 Grand Prix. Hello, welcome to CNN World Sport. I'm Alex Thomas in London. The leaders tee off for their final rounds at golf's US Open in just over a couple of hours' time, and it is thrillingly poised with a great mix of storylines and potential champions. Will Zalatoris and Matt Fitzpatrick were the overnight leaders. Zalatoris hitting a best-of-the-day round of 67, which he later joked felt like a 61 because of how tough the conditions were. Fitzpatrick would have matched that score if he hadn't dropped a shot at the last, but he's still feeling confident on the course where he became US amateur champion 9 years ago.
I certainly think it gives me an edge over the others. Yeah, I genuinely do believe that. It's it's a real, obviously, positive moment in my career. It kind of kick-started me, and to come back here and play so well again, it kind of, just gives me growing confidence round by round.
It gave me a lot of belief, a lot of confidence that I belong in this situation. There's a difference in thinking it and then actually being in the situation and believing it. And so I think that's probably the biggest change. I've put myself in this situation a few times in my career, and obviously got to go out and get it tomorrow.
Look out as well for Scottie Scheffler. This is a breakthrough season for the world #1, and the Masters champion continues to entertain us with his mercurial game, eagling the par 5 8th hole before dropping 5 shots in 4 holes on the back 9 and then birding the penultimate hole to finish 2 under for the tournament, breathing down the leaders' necks. As is the defending champion, Jon Rahm, leading on his own at 5 under par until he found this fairway bunker off the 18th tee, took 2 strokes to get out of it, and ended up with a double bogey that left him fuming, but still very much in contention 2 off the lead. This is how the leaderboard looks as we speak, with the fourth from last group containing Rory McIlroy teeing off in just over 2 hours' time. No one making an early impression, although conditions slightly better today. Still Zalatoris and Fitzpatrick by 1 from Rahm. Now, my fellow World Sport anchor Don Riddell has been at the Brookline Country Club all week for us and joins us again live now alongside Dan Rappaport. Don, Zalatoris and Fitzpatrick, one American, one Brit, with so many similarities, great iron players, skinny and with looks so youthful you think they were teenagers still, and also both looking for their first major titles.
Yeah, both guys look very, very young. We're really hoping for a great day here, Dan, aren't we? Because, yesterday was just absolutely fantastic. Hopefully the course is going to be tougher. Hopefully the overnight rain hasn't softened things up too much. But of all the potential storylines and champions, who are you most excited about?
Well, I would have to say Matt Fitzpatrick, and I'm a little personally invested in this one because, full disclosure, Matt and I are good pals. We went to college together, and it's just been really fun watching him progress through his career. He came out as a pretty highly touted amateur, but he was small and he didn't hit it very far, and he's changed that. He's worked really hard over the last 2 years, made a concerted effort to start hitting the ball further, and he had a great chance in the last major at Southern Hills, and he didn't play well in that final round, but I think that was a really important learning experience for him. He learned that, look, it doesn't take perfect golf to win, and he gets another chance in the next major, so definitely be keeping an eye on Fitzy today.
And he's quirky, he's different, he doesn't care what anybody thinks. Can you tell us a bit, since you know him so well, some things about him that perhaps we wouldn't know?
Yeah, just watch the guy play golf. He leaves the flag stick in on basically every putt, which you don't see that very often. He chips cross-handed, so he's right-handed, but he has his left hand below his right. He's got braces. He decided last year that he wanted to fix his sort of British teeth, and so he got braces.
We do have rubbish teeth.
And he just doesn't care at all about aesthetics. He's so dedicated to his career. He takes everything so seriously, and it's really fun to have kind of had a behind-the-scenes look at it, and to see it paying off on the biggest stage in the sport's really special.
So he's 27, Will Zalatoris is 25. Alex is right, they both look like they're still kids. And this guy, just always contends in majors. He's only played in barely a handful, and he's always in contention. Is this going to be the day for him?
I think it could be. You're right. He's played in, I think, 8 majors as a professional, and he's been in the top 8 6 times. So despite the fact that he doesn't have a PGA Tour win, he's been here before. And I know he grew up in Texas, but he's got a little Hollywood in him. I think he likes the spotlight. He carries himself with confidence. He wears kind of the skin-tight pants. He's very tall and skinny. He's got his own look about him, and he's one of the best ball strikers in the world. And at U.S. Opens and major championships, tough tests, you need to be able to ball strike your way around. There's no faking it, and Will Zalatoris doesn't fake it. So he was second in the Masters last year. He lost that playoff to Justin Thomas in the last major. And so you're seeing the same names again, Zalatoris, Fitzpatrick, rising to the top of the leaderboard when the tests are as tough as they are.
There is a bit of Hollywood in him. People think he looks like the caddy from Happy Gilmore.
He does. He does.
All right, so there was at least 3 players yesterday who all experienced some kind of drama or excitement or emotion on the 18th hole, and they're all in contention too, right?
Yeah, so Jon Rahm was leading the tournament by himself. He drives it left in the bunker. He tries to hit a bunker shot onto the green, and it hits the lip and almost hits his feet. So he makes a double bogey that drops him out of the final group, but he was upbeat after the round. You've got Keegan Bradley, who's from Vermont, which is about 2 hours away, but he's a big Boston sports fan. He's Boston everything. He said his walk coming up 18 yesterday was one of the best moments of his entire life. So you can just imagine, what that would do for him if he won. And then Scottie Scheffler, who's been the best player in the world this year, he birdied 17, and then he got up and down on 18 from the front bunker. And I think that up and down was really big, obviously to keep him only 2 back, but just mentally. The vibes were positive coming off the golf course. And he's got a chance today to win his 2nd major of the year, to be his 5th win of the year. And there's only a handful of guys who have ever done that, 5 wins and 2 majors in 1 year. And it's a who's who of the best players who have ever lived. So really, it's an embarrassment of riches as far as storylines today.
And as Scottie Scheffler admitted, he's the world #1, but he doesn't feel like he's the world #1, and he flew in completely under the radar here this week. No one was talking about him, which is just extraordinary for a player of his caliber. I can't believe we haven't mentioned Rory McIlroy yet, who stole many of the headlines in the build-up to this tournament because of his stance on the PGA Tour, kind of defending the establishment against the kind of breakaway LIV Tour. He hasn't had a major win in 8 years, but I mean, the way he's been playing lately, you wouldn't put it past him today.
You wouldn't, and yesterday did feel like kind of a missed opportunity. I think he shot 3 over par, 73 for the day, but he's still right there. He's 3 shots back, and with a course as treacherous as this one, 3 shots is really just, it's not all 3-shot leads are created equal. 1 birdie and 1 bogey, and he's right there. So if there's anyone who's capable of making an early charge, getting the crowd behind him, and kind of sending some shockwaves through the entire golf course, it's Rory McIlroy. And you're right, we've talked about 4 or 5 guys, and Rory wasn't even one of them, which just shows you how much star power there is and how great of a Sunday this should be.
And briefly, what can we expect from the course today? Yesterday, it was windy, so it was hard to control the ball in the air. It was hard to control the ball on the ground because it was so hard and dry. What about today? I imagine the pins are going to be tough.
Yeah, I think the pins will be tough. There was a little bit of rain that, I don't know if it was last night or early this morning, which would soften up the course a little bit, but it's been so windy this morning that I think it's going to blow that moisture right away. So I think you're going to see the same conditions as yesterday. I think it's going to be really tough. I've been watching the coverage a little this morning. There's been a couple guys who are chucking putters and breaking irons over their knees. I mean, this is U.S. Open golf. This is what everyone wants to see. And it's going to be a battle to the finish, a battle of attrition, which is exactly what the U.S. Open should be.
Can't wait. Dan Rappaport, Golf Digest, thanks so much. Terrific insight. And, yeah, whoever wins is going to be fantastic.
Should be a good one.
Back to you, Alex.
Don Riddell and Dan Rappaport at Brookline Country Club, where, as they both said, that US Open final round looks absolutely mouth-watering. We'll, of course, bring you bang up to date in our next show later in the day. We're about now to tell you about there was a blast from the past, the F1 qualifying in Canada, and how the Stanley Cup final is failing to live up to its pre-series billing.
Blueprint, in association with Qatar Airways.
The contents of this bottle may be helping airlines reduce their carbon footprint. It's called SAF, or Sustainable Aviation Fuel, a type of biofuel primarily from waste and residues like used cooking oil. Neste, a Finnish oil refinery, has been manufacturing SAF for more than 10 years. Neste says they clean the oil by placing it in a biorefinery to remove impurities. As of now, most planes are not yet ready to operate fully on biofuel.
It has to be blended with fossil product when it's going into the aircraft. But SAF one day will be completely replacing fossil.
SAF has helped power more than 370,000 commercial flights since 2016. a significant step towards the industry's goal of net zero emissions by 2050.
Blueprint, in association with Qatar Airways.
Back in person, the 2022 Afreximbank annual meetings will bring together high-profile continental and global leaders to harness and leverage Africa's incredible potential. Register now.
He's interviewed 5 U.S. presidents, authored 7 books, and has an independent voice that resonates.
What happened to when we were united against a common enemy?
He's raw, unique, and one of America's most important talk show hosts. Watch Smirconish, Saturday on CNN.
Monday, let's lift every voice. A CNN concert event. The Roots, Khalid, Janae Aiko, Earth, Wind & Fire, Yolanda Adams, and for the first time ever, an all-black symphony orchestra takes the stage at the Hollywood Bowl, and so much more. Juneteenth, a global celebration for freedom. Live from the Hollywood Bowl, only on CNN.
Hello, welcome back. Before the Stanley Cup Series got underway, all the talk was of how close it would be and what an intriguing clash of styles, with the experienced Tampa Bay Lightning going for an historic three-peat against a young, talented Colorado Avalanche team. Instead, it's been all one-way traffic, as Andy Scholes can explain.
Well, Alex, Tampa Bay was hoping to tie the Stanley Cup final at a game apiece Saturday night, but in Game 2, they got hit by an avalanche. There was just no stopping Colorado. They pounced on the Lightning and never let their foot off the gas. Valeri Nichushkin breaking the ice less than 3 minutes in, and Colorado just kept pouring it on. They scored 3 goals in the first, 2 in the second, and 2 more in the third. Avalanche win in a landslide, 7-0. It was the second biggest blowout in a Stanley Cup final in the past 100 years. Colorado's just been unstoppable in these playoffs. 14-2 record, tying the best start to a postseason in NHL history. The Avalanche now lead the Stanley Cup final 2-0.
Obviously, we had some good goals and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, we know next game is really gonna bring their best, and it's always the next game's the hardest.
Whether it's 1-0 or 7-0 or 10-0, I mean it's a loss in the playoffs, and you got to move on, and you got to man up as a team and as a person, and you know our team is going to do that.
Yeah, the good news for Tampa is they are heading home for games 3 and 4, and they're familiar with this spot. They were down 0-2 to the New York Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals before storming back to win 4 straight. And Alex, the Lightning, they're trying to become the first team to win 3 straight titles since 1983, but that dream is now on thin ice.
Andy Scholes at CNN Centre. Now, Formula One world champion Max Verstappen looks set to increase his lead in this year's title race at the Canadian Grand Prix. Not only did he qualify in pole position during wet conditions at the Gilles Villeneuve track in Montreal, but his nearest rivals, Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc, finished well down the grid. There was also a blast from the past as veteran Fernando Alonso qualified second fastest, his first front row start for more than a decade.
It feels great. I mean, this was an unbelievable weekend so far for us. We've been competitive on free practice, which normally we are on Friday, but then on Saturday we seem to lose a little bit of pace. And but yeah, thanks to the wet conditions today, the car was mega. You know, I was so comfortable with driving this car, and yeah, I think the fans also pushed me to make an extra push.
And that race gets underway in just over 3/4 of an hour's time. Now we've got a fun quick-fire quiz with Tom Brady to show you, and how Nelly Korda continues to impress after recovering from a scary blood clot in her arm.
Back in person, the 2022 Afreximbank annual meetings will bring together high-profile continental and global leaders to harness and leverage Africa's incredible potential. Register now.
Welcome to The Lead. We begin with breaking news. The United States has plunged into a recession. We're seeing infections at an all-time high. What's your reaction to that? Here are the facts.
The Lead with Jake Tapper.
Out front tonight, a potential breakthrough in treating coronavirus.
We've gotten very little help from the federal government.
Could all this spending lead to a bigger economic crisis? One of our viewers saw you last night on the show. She says she's going to pay your rent this month. Shut up. I want to go now to an incredible story of survival. Would you do it all again in terms of being a nurse, knowing that that could put you at risk for this?
I want to help people more than I ever have.
Aaron Burnett out front on CNN.
Hello again, World Sport back with the pick of the action from the latest LPGA event where Nelly Korda leads by 1 stroke going into the final round of the Mayor Classic at the Blythefield Country Club in Belmont, Michigan. The Maya Classic, I should say. She's the defending champion, but still on the comeback trail after surgery on a blood clot in her left arm. Before that operation, she was threatening to dominate the women's game, and a win later on Sunday would show she could still go on to do that. The next major of the women's season, the PGA next week, is coming up at Congressional, and Nelly's again the defending champion. It's been a bittersweet week for tennis player Daniil Medvedev. He's moved up to the men's world #1 ranking and reached 2 successive finals, but lost them both. His second straight defeat with the trophy on the line coming in the final of the ATP event in Halle, Germany, where he was brushed aside by Hubert Hurkacz, the big-hitting Pole, winning 6-1, 6-4 in barely more than an hour. Hurkacz reaching the Wimbledon semi-finals last year, but this was his first title on grass. And the WTA event in Berlin came to a premature end with Ons Jabeur winning the Bet1 Open after her opponent was forced to retire. Belinda Bencic having to quit after hurting her ankle. She was a set and 2 games to 1 down at the time. Jabeur showing a keen sense of fair play after celebrating her win for a while, taking her own ice cooler over to try to help Bencic. At the top of the show, we told you how beautifully poised the US Open leaderboard is, and there's one very famous golf fan who will be just as keen to see how it plays out as the rest of us, and that's Tom Brady. The iconic quarterback loves the sport, and when our own Coy Wire caught up with him this week, he tried to get further inside the Brady brain.
Inside the Mind, rapid fire with Tom Brady. Favorite word?
Favorite word, babe.
Least favorite word?
Honestly.
Oh, is that it?
That makes sense, right?
Yeah,
like when people are like, honestly, like what, you're not being honest?
Yeah. All right.
That's why I hate when people go, can I be honest with you? And
Honestly,
I'm like, are you not being honest?
Being honest with me all the time. Where would you go in a time machine right now?
How far back in time or which place?
Place.
Capri.
If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Wow, there's a lot out there.
I mean, you could fly, you could teleport, you could...
Yeah, teleport for sure. Yeah, absolutely teleport.
What would be your kryptonite, the thing that makes you weak?
Oh, man. What would it be? Strawberries.
Oh,
strawberries.
I didn't like those.
A lot of answers in there I was not expecting. Okay, we're about to tell you how Japanese rugby is helping an island devastated by a volcano. Why was this coach breaking out the dad dancing in front of his team?
Back in person, the 2022 Afreximbank annual meetings will bring together high-profile continental and global leaders to harness and leverage Africa's incredible potential. Register now.
You can help the refugees from Ukraine. Join the over 80,000 who've already raised millions for food, shelter, and more. Explore cnn.com/impact. Click to take action.
I think it is the opportunity of government, and it's the opportunity of the private sector, and it's the opportunity of our American communities to welcome refugees. You know, the fall of the Afghan government, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, you know, these have triggered massive displacement events at a scale and speed not seen in decades. I think what we've discovered at Welcome.us is while there are significant capacity constraints to overcome, they can best be overcome when we tap into the extraordinary capacity of our American communities, our civic organizations, and our private sector. Refugees often arrive with a wide variety of professional and educational backgrounds. And what we know from the refugee experience is that they're extraordinarily successful. Attracting newcomers and welcoming them robustly is a win-win for everybody.
Hello, welcome back. Regular viewers will know that at its best, world sport can be a unifying force for good, bringing us together over a common cause. And that's exactly what has been happening in Japan, a charity rugby match raising money to help Tonga try to rebuild after the devastation caused by a volcanic eruption earlier this year. And it was only possible because of the links between the two nations forged through rugby. CNN's Blake Essig has the story.
Size, strength, and explosive power. These Tongan athletes are seemingly built for rugby. But here in Japan, where speed, quickness, and agility reign supreme, the inclusion of Tongans has changed the way rugby is played.
Style of rugby doesn't really mean that much, but the important thing for us and for rugby is that they actually bring their culture into our team.
It all began about a half-century ago, a relationship between the Kingdom of Tonga and Japan that started with the curiosity over this, the Japanese abacus, but has since flourished because of rugby.
56-year-old William Sinali Latu was one of the first Tongans to make the journey to Japan. The purpose of that trip? To learn the abacus and bring those skills back to teach his countrymen. But as he tells it, things didn't exactly go as planned.
It was difficult for me to handle the abacus because of my big hands.
To the disappointment of the late king who sent him here, Latu says he never returned. Instead, he spent the last 40-plus years living, working, and yes, playing rugby in Japan. So well, in fact, that he went on to represent his adopted nation in 3 World Cups.
Back in Tonga, I represented Tonga's national team. I assumed I wouldn't represent Japan, but when I was selected, I thought it was a great opportunity, but also a big responsibility.
Although it wasn't always easy, Latu's success helped create a pathway for others, one that hundreds of Tongans like Sione Mao have followed.
I came to Japan thanks to people like Mr. Latu. I saw them working really hard, and it made me think I had to work hard. I could study and do rugby here and pass on what I've learned to younger Tongans.
These days, Latu roams the sidelines instead of the pitch. And the reason he's out here with this group of men is because of what happened on January 15th, 2022.
Nothing like that ever happened before. I couldn't reach my friends and family for about a week. I had a horrible sinking feeling that maybe Tonga had ceased to exist.
This is the reason for that sinking feeling. Satellite images captured the moment a volcano erupted about 60 kilometers off the coast of Tonga. NASA scientists say the eruption generated a blast that was hundreds of times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima.
I was in contact with my family before the tsunami hit. An hour or 2 hours later, I saw the video of the tsunami hitting Tonga, and I was at a loss. I was very worried and called my family, but I couldn't get through as all telephone networks were down.
In the end, the Tongan embassy in Japan says 4 people died, 80% of the population was impacted, and the eruption caused more than $90 million worth of damage.
The eruption is spreading dust everywhere, making the water undrinkable. The condition in Tonga is better now, but there are still many people in trouble.
And it's for that reason that this match between the Emerging Blossoms and the Tonga Samurai 15 was played.
Go Tonga Samurai!
an event to help raise money for a country still struggling to recover, showing how decades of diplomacy through sport can set the groundwork to be brave for Tonga through aid in action in the face of unimaginable devastation.
Tongans are resilient. I think people have faith they'll pull through and overcome the volcano disaster.
While the emerging blossoms from Japan won the match, there's no question that the friendly islands in the South Pacific are the real winners. As a result of this charity match and other fundraising efforts, Japanese Rugby expects to raise tens of millions of Japanese yen, hundreds of thousands of US dollars, and counting for the Tonga tsunami relief effort. A donation that Tongans here tell me will go a long way towards helping friends, family, and a nation rebuild. Blake Essig, CNN, Tokyo.
And seeing as many of us around the world are celebrating Father's Day, let's end the show with some dad dancing. And not just any dad dancing, but some special victory moves from Scott Robertson, who's the head coach of the Crusaders, just after their triumph in the Super Rugby final against the Blues on Saturday. I mean, look how much his players are loving it. Robertson slipping at one stage here, but still pulling off a bit of a break-dancing style spin on his back, bit of a caterpillar move there as well. All in shoes not really set up for it. But no wonder he and his team were so excited after feeling on top of the world. That's all we've got time for on this edition of CNN World Sport. In 4.5 hours' time, I'll be back with more, including the latest on the final day of the US Open golf. So thanks for watching and hope to see you then. Goodbye for now.
Afghan women are afraid that this is the beginning of your efforts to erase them from the workspace.
Malumnes, it's not clear. Even if we appear with the burqa, maybe they will say that women's voices are forbidden.
Did you ever imagine that you would be prevented from going to school?
Girls' education is fundamental to the dignity of Afghan life.
Do you believe that young girls will be allowed to go to school here in Afghanistan?
Want a daily dose of Fareed and his team? Now you can get it with Fareed's Global Briefing, the newsletter that gives you the best insight and analysis on global affairs. Go to cnn.com/Fareed to sign up.
I'm David Culver in Beijing, and this is CNN.
Inside Africa, in association with Zenith Bank.
Putting on a show is about more than just the spectacle.
From the veteran thespian who's helping restore a historical theatre.
I believe it's very important for the development of any nation that the cultural space is not only allowed to exist, but it needs to flourish.
To a legend in the making.
The talent is there, the content is there, the audience is there. If the shows are packaged right, people will come to see it.
To a new generation with big talent and even bigger dreams.
My future dream as a theatre actor would be to probably win the Tony Award. Because I cannot restrict myself to Nigeria. I have to go out to the world.
And behind the scenes, those lighting a path for others to follow.
I came from that street zone and nobody knew who Matthew was. But most places you get to today, you hear Matthew Lights from nowhere, and I'm here today.
These are Nigeria's thespians reviving the industry. This is Inside Africa. In Lagos, Nigeria, the stage is set for acting legend Joke Silva.
I love them in their costumes.
But this time, she's not on the stage. She's in front of it.
The viewing here is actually one of the best in the house.
Joke says her career as a thespian kicked off with an answer to a prayer.
I was taking my what we call the gold level Lambda exams. I also needed a pointer to what my future was going to be. And I said to the Lord, Father, if I get the highest mark in England from the Lambda exams this year, and I pass my gold medal exams with honors, then I know that I am walking in your will to become an actor. And both things came to pass. My father, hoping to dissuade me, I think, said, okay, why don't you take a year out and go and work in this profession that you insist you want to go into? So I did. And that was the beginning, and I never looked back.
A 40-year career treading the boards equals a lifetime of memories. Some good, others best forgotten.
There was one that I took part in called Through a Film Darkly, and I totally dried on stage. And I tried to relax and remember my lines. I didn't really, and so I ran off stage and I started bawling my eyes out. I came back on stage, and thank the Lord, it has never happened again in an over 40-year career.
Having performed around the world, Joke says Nigeria's theatre industry could use a rebirth.
When I started out in the early 80s, there was a vibrancy, there was so much going on in the theatre, so much going on at the National Theatre, major works that were going on. The future seemed extremely bright. And then everything just kind of dried up. Part of it has to do with the lack of spaces, definitely. But I think also a major thing is part of the structures for the performing arts in Nigeria.
That's a problem she's hoping to solve with this historical venue in the heart of Lagos.
Glover Memorial is the oldest theatre in Nigeria. The foundation stone was laid in 1887. It is the premier theatre in Nigeria. I really wanted to come on board. A lot of people didn't see how you could revive that. I could, I can, and I can still see it.
For every leading role, there's got to be a supporting act. And Joke's right-hand man at Glover also happens to be her son.
Working with her has been really exciting. She actually sold the idea of Glover to the team. At first, we were a bit skeptical about Glover, but she always talked about the history and heritage. She's very charismatic, she's very tenacious. She doesn't give up. It doesn't matter how many arguments you put in front of her. As long as she believes in it, she's still going to go ahead.
She credits her family for being her backbone along the journey.
I remember in the early years, thinking to myself that I'm not really sure I was cut out to be a mother. But being married to the man that I'm married to, very caring about his family, very children-centric,
Reviving Glover Hall and being a working actor takes up a lot of time, so she looks to a different kind of art for inspiration.
My dream gallery was set up by one of my sisters about 30 years ago. And there's just something about that space. As you walk in to my dream, the incredible work of art on the wall, just going into the gallery is fascinating.
Looking back on her journey, she says it's all been worth it.
I feel proud that one has stuck through and pushed through the difficult years and one is still standing.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Through investment in STEM schools, Egypt has committed to building a more diverse and inclusive workforce. They are encouraging women and girls across the country to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. By ensuring that they are not just represented, but are also empowered to thrive across all sectors, Egypt has demonstrated their commitment to investing in the country's youth and in the mission to achieve sustainable development goals.
This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson.
Getting perspective on this region from this region. Bringing you the world from our Middle Eastern hub.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson. Monday through Friday on CNN.
Alrighty guys, let's do a read.
It's crunch time for thespian Kemi Lala Akindoju.
So we're here at Franfumi Studio. It's a rehearsal space and we are preparing for a performance for the International Women's Day celebration. I am producing and directing and acting in the piece.
Wearing many hats is now second nature for Lala, but theatre was her first love.
It's not there yet. I like the beginning. I grew up watching plays. My father would take us out every time there was a public holiday over the weekends to go see a play. That's how it sounds rhythmically. In 2005, I was an undergraduate at the University of Lagos. I was in fellowship, I was singing, I was doing background vocals. I just loved to express myself. Why?
She played the lead role in a Christmas play, and that sealed the deal.
Continue taking up space. The moment I got on stage that day, I was like, yes, this is it. I decided I wanted to pursue this as the beginning of my journey into the performing arts. It wasn't really clear-cut, but I knew that theatre would give me that access. In 2007, in my final year, there was an announcement. Wole Ogutokun was doing a season of Wole Soyinka plays at Terra Culture. That was the beginning.
Pay him no more attention than you moving, you know.
From those 4 Sundays in July 2007, I started doing plays every Sunday for the next 3 years and more. And yeah, the rest is history.
Since then, Lala has worked her way up in the industry, producing her own plays, featuring in successful movies, and creating a platform for budding thespians.
Madam is asleep, sir. I wanted to help people coming after me to find easier ways to get into the industry, easier ways to be seen, easier ways to connect and network. And so I had this idea to do something called open mic theater. Creating open mic theater opened up so many things and possibilities. There's a community, there's a generation of actors in Nigeria today that were birthed from open mic theater. There's a network of professionals in the industry that were birthed from open mic theater.
Okay. No, that's okay. Just communicate with me.
Open mic is on hold for now, but she continues to support young talent. One mentee says Lala's work ethic can be a tough act to follow.
Lala is a force. She's very driven. Our relationship is constantly her pulling me up to her energy. And sometimes, I can't lie, it's very frustrating, but it's also something I'm very, very thankful for.
She's like, okay, I've got an idea.
When she's working, and she expects everyone that's working with her to bring the same energy.
This fast, but do you understand your pre-thoughts? Yeah.
Back to present day.
You know you're coming up now.
It's showtime for Lala's team, and the pressure is on.
This is not a joke.
I go collect the key from my manager. I go open the office. I go clean everywhere. It is time to break the bias.
The journey of an actor or an artist is very peculiar. Sometimes you have to create opportunities for yourself. That was the foundation around the creation of my one-woman show, Naked. It pushed me as an actor, pushed me as a producer.
She's also pushed herself into directing.
Writer like to be here, right?
Initially, I didn't think I was ever going to direct anything. But this is what I realized. I had ideas. And I had things I wanted to see on stage. Secondly was the budget. I'm like, if I direct this thing, I don't have to pay somebody. So those two things motivated me. Theater is important because it's very human. It forces you to discuss things. And because you are in that room, sometimes the issues are uncomfortable. Sometimes you feel you want to run. Theater encourages us to, have some introspection.
For Lala, going back to where it all started helps her appreciate just how far she's come.
Easily, the first person who's been very instrumental to my journey everywhere is Joke Silva. And my parents have been very supportive. My husband is very supportive. He's my biggest cheerleader. My son, he brings me a lot of joy. Adiri of fair.
As for the future, for her and for the industry that launched her career, the goal is simple.
To leave a name that's bigger than me. To do work that would outlive me. Work that would touch people's lives. When you call my name and say, who has she worked with? How are people who work with me, how are they because they worked with me? It matters to me. I yearn for a time where theater practitioners in Nigeria are always working and earning so that their quality of life is very good. As thespians, the quality of your life reflects in your work.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
You can help the refugees from Ukraine. Join the over 80,000 who've already raised millions for food, shelter, and more. Explore cnn.com/impact. Click to take action.
Our mission here at CNN, the news comes first.
More breaking news that we are following right now. Welcome to the Situation Room. We have breaking news.
Nigeria's theatre industry is brimming with creativity and talent.
The beautiful thing about making theatre is when you see where you started from, when it was just an idea, to where it gets to, when it's now a performance. That thing is mind-blowing.
Those who remember its glory days say there are challenges to overcome.
The lack of consistency in the sense that there are not that many good productions.
Despite that, there's young talent making a name for themselves on the stage.
My name is Oluchi Udi. I'm a singer, songwriter, and an actor.
Oluchi, it happens in a split second.
In school, then I would just sing in the hostel, and people would always stare at me and they'd be like, "Ah, Oluchi, you can sing." Oh." And that was when it clicked that, okay, I think I have a gift.
It's a gift that runs in the family.
My mom used to sing and record music. And then my dad used to be a member of a band. I grew up listening to all genres of music. What prompted me to move further, beyond secondary school, was the need to let the world hear my voice. I told myself that I couldn't just settle for where I was at the time. I first of all went on to Nigerian Idol. That was in 2015. I got to the top 30 level and then I was evicted. But of course, knowing that I still wanted so much more, I went on to MTN Project Fame, season 8.
Despite not winning either show, it did change her career trajectory. And in 2016, she quit her job as a business developer.
Auntie Joke Silva was the one who introduced me to theatre. So while I was in the academy, she wanted each and every one of the contestants to sing a favorite song of theirs. She listened and she was like, Oluchi, there's an audition that is coming up. And funny thing is, I got the role and I was to play lead. My first ever theatre production in Heartbeat the Musical. Being my first ever theatre production, stepping on stage and performing, it's a feeling that I really can't describe. It just gave me that sense of fulfillment and happiness that I had started that journey.
Oluchi was an amazing find. She's got that something. She's an incredible interpreter with an amazing voice. So very disciplined, very unproblematic for the director or the producers. But more importantly, she's also very talented. So when you bring all that together, of course she's going to shine.
So this is my friend's studio here in Bagada, and he's Kinsley, Ofonha, my childhood friend. We've known each other for like 25 years or more. And this is where I recorded my very first song.
I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready. Them say you know fine and you know getting money, but together we blend just like rice and beans, and that's enough for me. That's enough for me. Music is my first love, so I feel like every time I'm doing this, I'm doing what God has called me to do. It was through music that I got into acting. So this is the space that gives me life.
Oluchi says in almost 6 years as a thespian, it has exceeded her expectations.
My first major highlight, of course, would be Heartbeat the Musical, playing lead, My second would be joining the Hereward team. Through Hereward, I've had the opportunity to travel around the world. My third would be Ada the Country, because I also got the chance to work with another set of phenomenal women who I've watched over the years.
But living her dream doesn't mean there aren't a few things she'd like to change.
I wish I was told beforehand that theatre is rigorous and energy demanding, but I like the fact that it's rigorous and keeps you fit. It makes me a better performer. So even as a solo music artist, I can stand on any stage because I'm grounded with theatre.
Oluchi says the goal is to continue to grow.
The quest for more knowledge, that was what made me go to Identity School of Acting in London. I ran my course in acting for 6 months. It's one of the best experiences I've had. My future dream as a theatre actor would be to probably win the Tony Award. Because I cannot restrict myself to Nigeria. I have to go out to the world, and I never want to stop. I want to look back 70 years from now and say, you tried it. You went this far.
For those coming after her, she has a few words of encouragement.
To never relent. If you have a dream, follow your dream. There will be obstacles, but you cannot let that bring you down.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
For any play to come together, there are those behind the scenes, without whom the show would literally be in the dark.
Trying to confirm if these lights are working.
Matthew, or Mato, as he's often called, is one of Nigeria's foremost lighting designers in the theatre space.
Lighting for theatre is very essential in a theatre production, and it helps you create and tell story.
Today, the award-winning lighting designer is working on the musical Ada the Country. It's the day before the show and all hands are on deck.
Yeah, you're fine now. I always wanted to be in that circle of entertainment. I want to be a dancer and an actor. I got into lighting design from Performance Studio Workshop, where I got mentored by Taffy Oyewusi. Somehow, I was the best student in my set, and Taffy, my lecturer, my mentor, saw something in me.
When he came in, he didn't come in only as a student. Matthew does not really ask only about what's going on. He's coming to ask me more about philosophy, about life. He just has this kind of a visual memory that you tell him something and he can actually give it back to you three-dimensional. It's not his work that is so extraordinary, but what is actually behind that work. And that is why I think he's just getting the payback that everything is just falling into place for him now.
After training, it pushed for me to really find love in technicals, and I really found that love in theatre and light design.
That living wasn't on the stage as he initially dreamed, but Mato loves his role nonetheless.
For me, theatre is actually a journey. From the day you get the script, the day you go to rehearsal, the day they start blocking, the day they start having a proper run. So that process, for me, it's actually very enjoyable to me because I follow that flow and it takes me through to the day of performance.
Like many others, Mato says the lack of theatre venues is holding the industry back. But there's an added layer that affects his work.
Most times we get into that space the night before the performance, so you have to find